Okay, welcome back to another episode of First Use, and in today's video we're going to go through Carlton, the Mighty Blues, and how they're able to win 20 to 10, so plus 10 out of the centre bounces. And I'm going to run you through a bit of the strategy, how they set up for Koning, and also when they have Young in there or the non-dominant ruck, how they actually set up. So let's get into it and look at some clips, and I'll run you through how they were able to do it. Okay, this is really early in the game, and you can see Hewitt, he had a massive game. I think he's been really outstanding for the Blues in the centre bounce. The Cripper, so he's set up as a blocker, Gripper as a sweeper, and I think that Chera as the receiver. But throughout the game, they used the blocker quite well. Sometimes the blocker started there, and in this case, Hewitt starts there. But the mode of this setup is to come on this angle and then be able to either hook out and release or hook out and go themselves. In this particular case, that's exactly what happens. When they tend to man up in this area, it's more of a lockdown role. And in this situation, with Sherry, the North Ruck, whatever way he's facing, and I've mentioned this before, wherever he's facing is generally where his hit zone is. He doesn't, and this is on his non-preferred hand too, his left hand, he doesn't tend to flick it in this area. I think that's something he's because he's such a bulky guy, he's got to get to the stage where he can start palming it in different spots. But De Koning is so hard to match up on because he can use both hands, he jumps off both legs, he can punch it out, which I'll show you one of those clips a bit later. He will hit it here, really short, which I think is his favourite tap, or he will hit it straight to the blocker, and in this case, he hits it straight to Hewitt. As you see, hits it forward, and Hewitt comes to the ball. So they love to have that blocker, and then gives off, and a bit of a handball game, and away they go. So Young's gone in. So this is what I was saying. They like to have the blocker. See how much space off the line? I teach this. There's no rule book to say that you've got to start on the circle for the mids. You've got to give yourself space. If you're a sweeper, blocker. Generally the receiver is the one that zips all the way through. These are your anchor points. Whether it's anchor points is the sweeper. So they're trying to read the opposition's tap, but also be a handball release because they're facing their own goals. A few arrows there for you. And the other anchor point is the blocker. So the blocker is essentially one who can receive, that comes at the ball from the tap. They can also push their opponent this way to create space for their teammate to go this way. And on the opposite side, push their opponent this way to allow your teammate to come through on the fly. So giving your teammate space by pushing this opponent either way you decide to go. So the block is a very important role, and that's why I think George Hewitt has been really outstanding in that area, because he's big, he's bulky, he reads the play really well, and he can read it off the hands of the ruck. So as we go through that play, you'll see here, and then his mode is just to push it forward. Love what Walsh does here. He's such a great sweeper. Him and Warner, I feel, are the best. Probably Pendlebury as well, the best sweepers in the game. And the reason why they're so effective is because they're extremely patient. They don't get sucked into the play. And when you get sucked into the play, you allow for the ball to be hit over the side, over the top of you, or you just get involved in the traffic. So as this plans out, you'll watch just how balanced he is and how he becomes a really good option as a receiver. So as this play unfolds with Chera trying to get a hold of the ball, look, Walsh is still not even in the play. He's actually in this section here. He's still not even. That's how patient you have to be. Look at the numbers in and around the ball. One release from Chera, which actually happens, and North Melbourne is exposed. Ball comes out, and there's Walsh. Just really good. He doesn't get it, but you can see he's patient, gives himself width, gives himself the opportunity to come to it. So, in my opinion, this is De Koning's favourite hit. And the way they set this up, man on man, he's trying to push him this way. Man on man, Cripper's trying to push him this way. And then when you have someone with a bit of pace, this is where De Koning loves to drop the ball, just in this, and then wrap around. Cripps often does this. It's a really good hit. But what these two anchor points are doing is setting up space for here. Now, of course, if Sherry wins that works into Carlton's favour as well, because they have representation, and as I said before, this is where Sherry likes to hit it. So they have representation in that area. So if De Koning doesn't win the tap, they've still got presence. But in this situation, it's a really good attacking mode, and it becomes a really good clearance. Pushed off. 1-on-1. He's pushing his opponent this way to allow for this wraparound. Great hit. And out they go. Now the next play is one, and it leads to a stop play inside forward 50. This is one area that De Koning can do, and I think he needs to do more of. And it's so effective, it's so damaging, and builds momentum going towards your goals. So in this situation, got George Hewitt again as the blocker. He comes at the ball, but what he does by him doing that is he creates all this space. Why is that effective? Because if De Koning hits it into this area, which this is the play that happens, all of a sudden you're turning all your North Melbourne opponents, and including Carlton, are all facing towards Carlton goals. So I'll run through this play and I'll show you what I mean. It's a great tap. So De Koning smashes it forward. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And there's 8 was back there. Carlton's going right of screen. Where's the ball going? Right of screen. Where are all these players going? Right of screen. So the only way that this can be stuffed up is obviously they win it, but the representation off the half forward line. So if you're not in front of your man, as in Carlton, then this can become a great opportunity turned around very quickly. But in this situation, that's exactly what happens, and great setup by the Blues. Bang. So you in front, and Hollands in front. So now all of a sudden, 1, 2, 3 Carlton players are facing their goal. So this bubbles out. All of a sudden, it's an attacking opportunity. And what happens? George Hewitt gets a loose ball get inside forward 50. So great setup. I love that, and it's not used enough in the AFL at the moment. I think rucks have got to be able to hit it short, hit it forward, hit it on the side, but also try and hit it forward. And this is what happens in this situation. Now, know that we're focusing on centre bounces, but I really want to highlight this goal that happened in the first quarter. It's a brilliant tap, and it's creating exactly what I was saying in that previous centre bounce, creating momentum going towards your goals. So everyone's eyes are facing your goals. It's such an underrated momentum for your team. So it gives you the ability to, go forward and really attack. So what happens in this situation is North don't have any players loose here. This guy's probably waiting for this guy, but then he's manned up. So if this is the loose, this player here, he's in the wrong position. Totally in the wrong position. Manned up here. And what this Carlton player does is actually tracks into the contest. And what that does, instead of this player, this North player, dropping back as a +1 to be that cover, to be that sweeper, if you want to call it, he gets sacked in the play, and then it creates all this space. Now, all Koning has to do is hit it forward. So as the play unfolds, bang. Look at all that space. And it's really important that this forward holds back as well. Because if he comes at the play too early, then effectively that tap becomes irrelevant. So Young comes at the ball, causes a spillage, and out it goes. Watch the Koning. He knew this was a great set play. Watch his hand there. I love it. Nothing better when you hit it forward as a ruck and it comes off. Look at Koning's hands. Oh, I cut him out. There he is. Still got his hand in the air when it goes through. Really good set play. So what I like about this is that as a midfielder, you've got to watch where the opposition ruck, especially if you're a sweeper. If your role is a sweeper, you've got to read the opposition ruck. Really important to watch their chest, and I've spoken about this before. Wherever their chest goes, they tend. Sometimes you come up like a Koning who can flick it in different positions, and that's quite hard to read. But as you'll see in this video with Koning, he has a couple of tricks and how they set up. You can actually read it. But the big fellas like Sherry, like Briggs, you got to watch their chests. They don't flick it around too much. They're really, really quite predictable in hitting it in front of them in that area. So I love what the Carlton player does here. So I'll run through the tape and I'll just show you how it unfolds. It comes up. Look where he's facing. Sherry, that is. He's facing out towards the wing. So he's in a dead area. He can possibly get it, and he definitely can't get it, because unless he tries to hit it forward, really in no man's land. But really good reaction here from, I think it's Chera, I think. The ability to get onto it and read the tap. Bang, hits it forward and straight onto it. So as I was saying before, when the blocker starts this far off for the Carlton player, starts this far off, that's a clear indication that they're going to come at the ball. So in this circumstance, it's really hard as a blocker, as I was saying before, when you want to push your opponent this way, depending on what tram lines you have as the receiver, because it's easy for them to zone off. If they're here right on the line as a blocker, it happens so fast. This North Melbourne player doesn't have time to react. But it's easy to react when you're this far back off the line. So when this actually happens and you've got space, that's a clear indication that the Carlton player is going to come this way to receive. And then in that situation, then it opens up for these Carlton players to come off and receive. So when this happened several times on the game on the weekend, Hewitt was always coming at it. And that's exactly what happens in this situation. There he is there. So when he gives himself space and he comes at it as the blocker, that's when you know it's hitting forward, and that's when he becomes in a receiving position. Right, this gets called up. This bounce goes out, then the umpire calls it back and throws it up. But when you look at this setup, it's quite an attacking setup. Koning is a left-hander. So that means, look at all this space that is free. And I can't believe North didn't pick this up. So if Sherry wings it, and what have I said, he's facing this way, that's perfect, because Carlton's got representation here, so they can affect that. But if Koning wins it, North are stuffed. Absolutely stuffed. And that's exactly what happens in this situation. So the bounce gets called back, but I'll show you how the play unfolds. Right, so the ball gets called back and the umpire throws it up. But look here. This space. So Koning hits it. If Sherry wins it, Carlton's onto it. Especially if he hits it in this area. But see how Cripper's blocking for this space? If Koning wins it, left-handed, away they go. And Cripper ends up getting it as the blocker. So once again, George Hewitt set up as a blocker. There's two running patterns here that Carlton have. So sweeper, staying back. Walsh is running this way to receive. Hewitt is coming at the ball to receive. So they've got two options here by Carlton. Even if Sherry wins it, Hewitt's going to be first there. So they didn't read the patterns. I don't know if they did their homework, North Melbourne. But there were so many options going, running patterns, different hit zones for Carlton, that North Melbourne just had no answers for it. As it goes down, George Hewitt comes and then receive. Once again, here we go. George Hewitt as a blocker. Look how the space he has off the line. But it's a really good tap by Koning. So he just pops it in this area. So once again, they've got two hit zones. Here or here. And Sherry's facing this way. So it's a really good setup by Carlton. They're protecting themselves, but they're also in an attacking mindset as well. So if Koning wins it, they've got their two places set up for the hit zone. If Sherry wins it, he's facing this way and they can get onto it because they've got representation there. And Sherry comes through. Great movement there from Cripper because he's come back as a sweeper role. It's really important. It's such an underrated position, the sweeper role. Doesn't matter where you come from. You still got to be in a position where if they hit it forward and/or they shark this tap, you've got to have someone to sweep. And that's why they call it the sweeping role. You go side to side. You don't get sucked into the play. So I didn't mind that Simpkin come off his man a little bit. He's tried something, tried to protect this running pattern. But George Wardlaw just held on a bit too long for Cripper. But once again, this is this tap that Koning loves to get up and then just drop it down. So he's in really good form, obviously. But this is one of the taps he loves, where you wrap around. And you come... Essentially, this midfielder is coming into the space that he runs out of. So this is the Koning space. Midfielder comes through that space. It's very attacking. It's very, very powerful. Free kick to Cripper. So there you go. There's a Carlton. So really good variety of hits. Great variety of running patterns. Great support as the sweeper, the blocker, and the receiver. They had the anchor points set up really well as the blocker and the sweeper. Allow that receiver to run and duck and weave it in and under. But my favourite tap of all those clips is the one when Koning hit it forward. It just got it out of space. And in fact, that centre bounce clearance where he hit it forward, it led down to that stop play where he hit it forward again and they resulted in a goal. So really well done by Carlton over the weekend.